Podcast, and we are, what the hell is that? I don't know what's going on with that. There's something always wrong with the audio in this system. We're going to eventually get it fixed one of these days. I know what it is now. It's the thing that we're doing with Instagram. That's a brand new thing, so we've got to get that fixed. It's Instagram, guys. Tell the engineers, it's Instagram. Hey, welcome to the show. It is the 18th of December, and we are one day closer to either seeing pigs fly or snowballs in hell or something crazy like that, because everything's collapsing all at the same time. Have you noticed that? Let's look at what happened today. The system is so out of control. And tonight's show, by the way, is going to be a little bit different. Feel free to call in. The phone lines are open at 877-619-3899. 877-619-3899. Looking forward to your calls tonight. We want to hear from you, America. I yell and scream all day long into a mic, so please, tonight, give me a break, call me up, and let me know what you're thinking, your thoughts, and so on. According to the Gateway Pundit, BlackRock, there's a scandal going on there. The state of Tennessee is suing the company, demanding transparency on alleged environmental activism. Now, Gavin Newsom made a statement the other day that I thought was one of the most asinine statements that I've heard from a Democrat in a long, long time. And what that is remember when he talked about this ESG, DEI thing, or whatever those Republicans are talking about, that crazy conspiracy, ESG and DEI. Do you know what those are? Environmental, social, governance. That's what it stands for. That's what ESG stands for. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what's interesting is that Gavin Newsom acts like he's never seen these before, like this is something completely new to him. Nope. That's a BlackRock initiative. That's a WEF initiative. The people that he's been hanging around with and chumming around with, they're the ones that came up with it. For him to now say, hey, guys, I don't know anything about this, is a little bit of a lie. He's trying to make you believe something that's not true. Now, he's been doing that a lot here recently. And one of the things that he's doing is he's doing this thing where he tells you the truth. It's truthful, but it's meant to make you believe a lie. And what that is he keeps talking about all these red states. These red states are out of control, spending all this federal money, and they're sucking it all in. They're not paying their fair share, and they're getting more than they're paying in. That's what Gavin Newsom has been going around saying. And then other people start picking it up. And what are they saying? Well, they're saying the exact same thing, that those dirty red states aren't paying their fair share, and they're making us pick up the burden. Those Republicans. Well, first of all, let's look at this realistically. Okay. If a red state goes to the federal government and says to them, hey, we're going to need more money, and the federal government says, okay, and gives it to them, I got to give it to the red states for being smart enough to go get money that isn't theirs. If the government's just going to give it away, why wouldn't the red states go do that? But that's not the case. That's not what's happening. And that's how Gavin Newsom is telling you the truth and expecting you to believe a lie. Here's the thing. The red states, as red states, aren't getting that money. Nope. It's cities like Indianapolis. It's cities like Dallas. It's cities like Austin. Red states that have blue cities that use a lot of these resources. So when you hear somebody tell you something, and it sounds like, hey, that may or not be true, I don't think that's true. You got to look at the details. When you look as a whole, the red states and what they do, what they don't do, you got to include the blue cities. The rural areas have no control. The areas that aren't using those resources have no control of the city of Indianapolis. Zionsville isn't using those services. Indianapolis is. Right? That's where I live. So if you're in a suburb of a blue city, like here in Indianapolis is a blue city. It's gone. It's a piece of trash. I don't go downtown anymore. It's dangerous, it's dirty, and there's nothing there. The shops that used to be there because it was safe and clean, well, they've let that go. Joe Hogsett, who's the mayor of Indianapolis, has let so many potholes go throughout the city as we've got all this money for infrastructure from Joe, and Joe Hogsett, the mayor of Indianapolis, can't seem to get any of that money onto the streets. And here we go, into winter again. And last year, can't remember how many complaints they had, but tons and tons of people were complaining about the fact that they couldn't get their cars repaired after being damaged by the potholes. Why am I upset about it? Because we pay so much goddamn money. And then they turn around and they say, well, the red states are taking it all. No, we're not. The blue cities are. And then they're wasting it on human resources. And when I say that, I mean they're spending it on people. Kramer, you're supposed to spend. No, you're not. Because there's no outcome. Taking my money out of my pocket and giving it to another person is not in the Constitution. They don't have the authority to take my pay, be the proxy, be the middleman for it, take their cut, and then hand that off to somebody else. Folks, that's theft. Kramer, that's not your roads, and I'm not talking about the roads. I'm not talking about the police department. I'm not talking about any of this other shit. I'm talking about the fact when they take my money out of my pocket and they put it into someone else's, and they take a cut for themselves as they do it. Now, here's the thing. They're doing that, folks, at the end of a gun. At the end of a gun is how they're doing it. It's not going to get any better, and you know where this message is already going. By the way, it's time for a drink. It's a one bourbon night tonight, so I'll see how this goes. By the way, taking your questions live, you can call in now. The phone lines are open at 877-619-3899. Need your calls. The show doesn't work unless you call in. That's why I stopped doing it there for a while, because you guys weren't calling in. I need your calls. I need you to be interactive with this. If you don't want to do that, then I'll just stop doing it. Okay, going on. 877-619-3899. That's the number to call. Steve Bannon thinks that Trump will pick a female VP, names some intriguing options. And who do you think are among those names, huh? Sarah Huckabee Sanders? That's potential. Mm-hmm. Carrie Lake? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to be Nikki Haley. I don't think that Nikki Haley's going to make the cut. Do you? The other thing that we've been watching here on the Gateway Pundit is that... I think it's interesting. We're finding out more and more about what happened in 2020. And by the way, tonight's show is going to be kind of a free-for-all. I worked on a campaign today. I was working with a campaign today and got done late. So you can see I'm still kind of frantic looking around, making sure I've got everything in place before we get into this. But D.C. Democrat official has been fined for committing election fraud. He voted both in D.C. and in Maryland in 2020. Now, it's interesting that in the last few days, Georgia... Governor Kemp has issued a report or issued an investigation into votes that were counted in Fulton County, over 20,000 of them, votes that were counted in Fulton County that were fraudulent, that didn't exist. We said that happened. Now, of course, Ruby Freeman's name comes up because Trump only lost Fulton County, Georgia, by a little over almost 12,000 votes. I think it was 11,700, somewhere in that ballpark. And they just found 20-some thousand illegal votes that weren't supposed to count in Fulton County 3 years later. I wonder if that'll impact this judgment that they just made against Rudy Giuliani for asking the question, hey, gals, hey, Ruby, and your daughter, Can you tell me what you're doing with all those crates? Can you tell me why you're pulling those crates out from underneath the table? After everybody else has left and all the counting is supposed to have stopped. Can you tell me why you were doing that? Was that normal? Because the Republicans had left by that point. They no longer had a voice or observation in the room. So is it a potential that those 20,000 votes came from the Ruby Freeman project after that water main broke and they decided to stop counting in 6 states all at the same time? Now, I'm broadcasting tonight on YouTube. I don't care if I lose the count. If it gets booted, it gets booted. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm going to talk the way I want to talk. And if YouTube says that I can't be on their platform because I think that the 2020 election had a lot of fucking problems, by the way, so does Governor Kemp. He sent this letter to Raffensperger. You got to explain this, buddy. Folks, it's not going to get better. And I keep saying the exact same thing. Until you get involved, until you start being a part of the process, it's not going to change. They don't fear me. They fear me with an army behind me. They don't fear Steve Bannon. They fear Steve Bannon with an army behind him. An army of patriots that are willing to get our nation back on track. And the way that happens is that you have to be vigilant every day. This is the CramerSez podcast. We're going to start doing something a little bit different, and we're hoping that you join in. Again, we've set up the phone calls. People always were trying to get a hold of me, and they're not calling tonight, so it's really kind of upsetting. Again, the number is 877-619-3899. We'll be right back after this. And they're not calling tonight, so it's really kind of upsetting. Again, the number is 877. Well, we got to get that fixed. I don't know what that deal is. We're going to have to see what this is. Holy cow, this is crap. Okay, we're back. I don't know what's going on here. I think this Instagram feed that we've got going on is going to be a problem because it will not let me shut it down. Anyway, let's keep going with this. One of the things that we've noticed over the last few months is that we got a phone call. Let's just go to it. I don't want to talk. Let's go to the phone call. Thanks for calling. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Tim, this is Steve calling you again tonight. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. I just wanted to call. I was reading some of your stuff on X, and man, I can't believe the Democrats voted to turn down child porn. That just threw me off.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
No, sir, it doesn't.
So we were talking last week. What's the solution? Do you think that there's an easy solution to this?
No, sir, I don't. I don't see anything in this solution even resolved. And after the election, I don't see it as a resolution. Our country is so fucked. I mean, it is so fucked in every which way we turn.
What do you think the biggest issue is? What do you think that if we had to fix something tomorrow that would get us back on the right track, what would that be?
Well, quit spending so much money that we don't have and stop this immigration would be a big help. I agree.
They've got a problem at the border. It's funny. Ronald Reagan started all this. Let's be realistic. They caved. The Republicans of the 1980s caved. They could have fixed the border, and they chose not to. What they decided to do was go the easy way out. And they offered this path to citizenship. And what does that do? Well, that says, hey, if there's a path to citizenship, I'm going to get my ass up there and get on that path. And so today we're paying for what they did back in the 80s. And the only way to flip this around is that, I hate to say it, but they've all got to go. Well, Kramer, these are DACA. I don't give a shit. I'm tired of the arguments. I'm tired of the excuses. They're here illegally. Yes, they were raised here. Not my problem. Not my fault. I've got empathy for them. I have sympathy for them. They got to go back home with their parents and do it the right way. And if they can't, then they're not Americans and they don't really want to be here. Do you agree?
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
You're 67, right?
I'm 61.
61. Okay, 61. It was the other gentleman that was 67. Okay, Steve, in your 61 years on this earth, did you ever think that we would end up here?
No, sir. I never thought it would be close to this. I knew we were leaning towards problems during the Clinton administration, and then Obama took it over. We were spending so much money, it was unbelievable, and I think Trump honestly tried to help this country. Matter of fact, sometimes when you got a little bit of time, go back to Ronald Reagan and see what they left the White House being worth, and all the way up to the president, and give me your opinion about that.
Well, let me ask you this. I'll do that. Let me ask you this. Trump said the other day that he got a lot of flack for it. He said two things in the last couple days. One was that he only wants to be dictator for a day. On the first day, he's going to do a lot of cleaning house and that kind of stuff. He just wants to be a dictator for a day. And they're going, oh, he's going to kill people. He's going to overthrow the elections. Yeah. They're going crazy, right? So when you heard Trump say that and you put it in context, were you concerned that Trump is going to go in there and for one day he's really going to be a dictator and start killing people and doing all that kind of shit? Or do you think this is just hyperbole from the left?
I'll just say it's a bunch of bull for the left.
There we go.
He just did that. I really believe to fire him up.
Well, and that's what they don't understand, and this is what the left doesn't get, is that Trump is the ultimate troll. Right? And I'm kind of a troll too. If you follow me on Twitter, CramerSez at twitter.com or CramerSez at X, whatever. If you go look at what I do, a lot of what I do is I just try to correct the record. And I put stuff in. For example, right now, you've got all these Democrats going off about how evil Republicans are. And all I do is drop in a little compilation of what Joe has said, that our nation, we're fighting for the soul of our nation. That's what he keeps saying, right? Well, he says that we're fighting for the soul of our nation. That's the way he says it. But this is a compilation of the shit that's gone on since Joe has been president. The coke at the White House, Hunter Biden's activity, the dude who showed his tits at the White House in the Rose Garden. This latest fiasco where you got the guy getting butt fucked in the Senate.
Right.
That's the soul of the nation. Then we've got Kevin McCarthy. What does he say before he leaves? He looks over at the Democrats and goes, those people over there are Americans, and these people over here they look like they're from a very restrictive country club. We are in a restrictive country club. You have to love God. You don't have to love God, but you have to appreciate that I do, right? I'm not forcing you to love God, but you've got to respect that I do. You've got to respect what my religion is. You've got to respect what my choices are. That's not happening right now. That's right. That's what Kevin McCarthy is praising them for. He says, look at how diverse they are. Yeah, they're all fucking crazy too. They're insane as loons, and not a one of them will have the backbone or the balls to tell you what a woman is. They don't want to define anything.
No.
Because if they define something, Steve, they have to put that's now it's locked, and they can't go back around to it, or they don't want to. Now, they locked things in stone a few years ago when Joe Biden and Obama were both saying that, well, marriage is between a man and a woman. We don't have any desire to change that. And then when Obama was in trouble in 2012, what did he do? When he couldn't run on policies, what did he do? He ran on social issues. And all of a sudden it was, well, sure, Steve and Steve should be able to get married. Steve and Kramer should be able to get married. Because they needed it. And they're in the same exact boat right now. It's not going to get any better. So we've got now, between now and the election, we talked about this last week, based on what you've seen and based on the perversity of what we saw over the weekend, Steve, do you think that in the event that they allow the election to go through, and the polling numbers are showing now that Trump is at almost 70% among Republicans, and he's now leading in all states. He's leading in all the swing states that matter. All of them. By 4 to 5, he's exceeding the poll. So if they have they allow a free and fair election, and we have the peaceful transfer of power, and we move Trump up and over, what does the left do the day after the election? What happens next? What happens between the election date and January 20th of the next year?
I feel like it'll be another summer of love, so to speak. I'll call it a winter of love. I just don't think they'll be able to handle it.
Yeah, see, and it's for those on YouTube that are listening to this, we're just looking at the facts. We're not saying there's not going to be an election. We're just saying based on the information that we're looking at, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it's possible. That's one of the possibilities. If a meteor hits Earth, YouTube, the election's not going to happen, right?
Right.
So
That's
maybe they'll
exactly
they'll tell us a meteor hit. I don't know. Are you tired of the media lying to us all the time, Steve? Are you tired of that shit?
You can't listen to anything without it being a lie anymore. It's
Agreed.
I listen to the press secretary, and it's just one continuous lie after another.
I've got I've got a rich history in politics here in the state of Indiana, and it's funny. I've gotten back in. I was out for 3 years. I got fired by the caucus in 2020 because I spoke out against Governor Holcomb for locking down the state. And it's funny. Republicans will go out, and when I say Republicans, I mean the establishment. Not the rank and file, the establishment. It's almost like the seventh floor at the FBI. They'll go out, Steve, and they'll tell you anything that they need to get elected. And then once they're in, man, they are the gatekeepers of power. They will do everything in their power to make sure that no one else can get in. And if you speak out against them, they will use all of their power to get rid of you. That's the Republican Party. That's our side. That's what they're doing to us. Because we spoke out. We said, no, we don't believe this. Now, here's the thing, and this is what people have got to understand about Eric Holcomb and the state of Indiana, and that we keep talking about the WEF, being the WEF, the World Economic Forum, being over in Davos and being associated with all. The WEF is in the state of Indiana right now. And no matter where you live, they've got their tentacles in everything that you're doing. You don't believe me? In the state of Indiana, there's a project right now called the LEAP Project. It's basically the fundamentals of a 15-minute city. That's what they're building just north of Lebanon, Indiana, off of 65 and north central Indiana. So who's really attached with that? Well, the WEF. And so you ask, well, why would they be investing so heavily and pushing these initiatives in a small farming community north of Indianapolis? Because it's cheaper to do it there than it is in Indianapolis. And they can get the land for free, and they can move things around. And when you look at what they've done, it's sickening. And the money that they're spending, and the money that the state is committing, and the money that the tax abatements that are being given to these multinational organizations that are promising a lot and haven't delivered anything yet.
You don't think, Tim, what we've talked about in the past is they are deliberately trying to get rid of the U.S. dollar. So we're going to have to eventually put a chip in each every one of us.
Well, I think they're talking about it. They've been talking about it for years. My dad was a minister. He passed away last year. He was a firm believer in the one world government. And that eventually, that was what was going to come. It's what was prophesied in the book of Revelations. And so he was adamant that at some point in the future, they would have to go to a one world government. In the book of Revelations, it clearly says that you'll pay by either having your hand, your forehead, or your forehead scanned. Right? That's where you'll wear the mark.
Yeah.
And where do they keep talking about they're going to put this digital ID? In the palm of your hand and in your forehead. They'd put they're talking about how can they put that in your forehead? It's a dye. It's a tattoo. It's a UV dye that goes into your skin. You can't see it, but the cameras can, and they can read it. And so you think that that's crazy until the tech's here. And who built that tech? Bill Gates. Bill Gates has that technology, folks. I ain't crazy. I'm informed. So if what they're talking about, if they have the capability, are they going to do it? Are they going to finally make it so that you have to wear this they've kind of already done it. Some stores are already getting rid of cash. They will no longer accept cash. Some banks will not accept cash payments at certain locations.
Yeah, that's really it's coming on so fast. I just wonder how far down the line we're looking at this actually taking place.
Well, I expect for them to do what they need to do next, one of two things is going to happen. First of all, the question we keep asking is self-answered. If the election happens, there's only two different options, right? Well, there's three actually, but the first two, Trump wins, Biden loses. Third is Trump wins, whoever else they run against Trump loses. Or whoever they run against Trump or Biden wins. Those are the outcomes. That's it. That's the only possibility. And when you look
I
at
just don't see Biden making this election.
well, I don't think he's going to make it physically. At the point that I was
Yeah.
watching, there's a movie. If you get a chance to watch it, by the way, go out and get the movie. It's called, I think it's called something like the Downfall of Minneapolis. It's about the George Floyd incident. And it goes through the whole timeline from the time that George first encountered cops all the way to his death. And it shows you the timeline. In fact, there's screenshots where they show you clearly that he had drugs in his mouth. He was swallowing the
Right.
fentanyl that killed him. Now, Kramer, you don't know that for sure? Yeah, because he had a history of doing that. It wasn't the first time that they had to pump his stomach for drugs that he had swallowed. This time, it was a little bit more than he expected, and it killed him. And that's why Derek Chauvin is in jail. Derek Chauvin, I got to say, I was mistaken. I believed what they said, and I was hook, line, and sinker initially. But the more that they said it, and the weird thing that Chauvin said after he was leaving court, do you remember what he said when he was leaving court? What you've been told is not what happened. It'll all come clear soon. Now think about that. He was walking out of the court. He had been convicted. He's going to prison. And he's calm and cool and just says it. This is what happened. And then when you go back, by the way, in this movie, they showcase the training techniques of what these officers were trained to do. You look at the picture of what Chauvin was doing. He was never on the guy's neck. Even if he was on his neck, it does not impair breathing whatsoever in that position. That's why that position was approved by the Minneapolis Police Department, and the chief came forward and said, "No, we've never trained our men like that." And in the movie, they show that Derek Chauvin's training manuals and everybody else's, and everybody that's there, all the cops that have left and retired and yada since the George Floyd situation, they've all said the exact same thing, Steve. And what they've said is that they lied. It was all political. Now, let me ask you this. I'm going to go to another caller here in a second, take a break here. But I want to ask you this before we go. The 2020 election, was it like any election you'd ever seen in your life?
No, I've never seen an election. It took 2 weeks in some states to count the ballot.
Not even during World War II did it take that long, and they didn't have the computers and all the people. They got it counted overnight. So 10 weeks to count the election. Steve, what do you think is going to happen in the event that the election of 2024 turns out to be the same?
I think some good people are going to do some bad things, in my honest opinion.
Yep. I don't think they get away with it. Well, I know they don't get away with this time. I know that we're as Americans, we are on alert and we're looking for things, and they're going to try to do all kind. They're trying to think of something that we can't think of. Doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
If it's not a free and fair election, it's revolution. If it's not a free and fair revolution or free and fair election, it's revolution. Now, here's the thing. I want to make this clear. When you go talk to the left, they're talking. I've been on social media. I've got accounts on social media where all I watch, all I listen to is leftist ideology bullshit. And what are they talking about? If Trump wins, Biden looks so bad. If Trump wins, it's going to be revolution. Yeah. That's what they're talking about, because they'll say he stole it or he's going to be a dictator. And it's worth having a revolution to stop a dictator from becoming president. So with that being the case, with them talking like that, Trump wins. Does that mean that we're out of this bullshit and we can get back to normal, or does it mean that it gets even worse?
I'd say the first 6 to 8 months is going to be worse.
What do you think will happen after that? You think it'll clamp down? The people will start? Because here's what I think, Steve. I think that there's a group of men and women in this nation who have gone and fought all over the world, all over the planet for America. And they're not going to sit here and watch their nation burn. They're not going to sit here and let it be destroyed by the Marxists and the Antifa and Black Lives Matter and those who stand up on a daily basis and say they hate this country. They want it to be ripped apart and started again. Do you think that the American citizens, let alone our veterans that have gone and fought for democracy and freedom on, distant shores, do you think that they're going to allow this to happen in the nation?
I can't see it happening. I really can't.
Yeah, I agree.
And you have to look at another thing. You're talking about, I'm going to call them children that are being indoctrinated in these so-called institutions. Is That's 80% of the problem right there.
I agree. Well, Steve, thanks for calling in. We're going to take a break here, and we'll be right back after this.
We'll be right back after these messages. America's political prisoners need our help. CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop.
I have no idea what the hell is going on with this system here. I got to get this fixed. Guys, we got to get this fixed. Jesus Christ! We'll take it from the top. See? We'll take it from the top. Holy cow. We keep trying to do this. We keep advancing the system every day, but there's always one checkbox that we don't have, so we got to get that fixed. You're live with CramerSez. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yo, Kramer, what's up, bro? It's Brooklyn, bro.
Hey, Brooklyn, what's up with you, baby?
Well, bro, I'm not in Brooklyn no more.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right now.
Where are you now?
I couldn't do closer to you, actually. I moved like western Pennsylvania. I'm like maybe 6 hours from you now. I'm moving more and more red, bro. We couldn't do it no more.
well,
I feel guilty. I feel guilty as fuck. I'm not gonna lie to you, but we just couldn't do it.
And why is that? Why you're feeling guilty? Why now?
Because I just feel like I abandoned shit, man. You know, I should have stayed there, like, you know, and throw my boots to the ground, you know, and I couldn't do it, man. Like, bro, I just felt like all my money, I couldn't do it financially. I was gonna just be broke again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I just couldn't do it. Like you got to keep in mind, like, before all this happened, I had money to getting ready to buy a house on Long Island, and I couldn't work, and like, first year of this whole Biden economy, it ate through all my savings.
Yep.
And I was getting workman's comp. Like, that's fucking insane, bro. Like, what the fuck?
So when you hear the Biden administration tell you that they tell you that the economy is booming, is that a lie? Do you see that as a lie?
Come
is that
on,
propaganda?
Bro, stop, man. You got motherfuckers in the Bronx telling you they want Trump back because they're going broke. Are you kidding me? Like, that says it all. You know, you're talking about people from the South Bronx, like Trinity Ave, you know, like, I mean, bro, like, that's the hood. They're saying they want Trump back. It's like, they just can't do it no more. It's rough. Yeah, people like literally like maxing out credit cards just to make it by, you know.
Well, I hate to hear that. It's interesting that when things started to fall apart back in 20, we were predicting then that this would happen. And in fact, I did the same thing you did, right? I realized that my company was falling apart. It wasn't making the money that it used to, and I had to figure out what I was going to do next. And it's funny, when I said this on social media, when I said, hey, listen, my company's having problems, the economy is tanking, and yada, yada. It's funny the number of Democrats and rhinos that came after me and said, well, that's what you deserve. Those who don't like what I do or don't like what I say, I deserve that. That my company deserved to be destroyed. And so now...
You know why? It's because there are a bunch of politicians that have never worked or built anything in their lives. They're quick to judge, or they're quick to spend your money when they didn't earn it, but they don't know, they don't have a clue of what it's like to build a business. Even a drug dealer has more business sense than they do, because they had to build it from the ground up. They didn't have to do shit except have their hand out for the fucking vote for some fucking policy change. And it's fucking bullshit. And it's corrupt on both sides, and the shit has to stop.
Well, I've been asking the same question over and over, and I want to get your input on it. If we have an election, how do you expect it to come out? What's the outcome of the 2024 election if we have an election?
Obviously, Trump is going to win. I hear what you're saying about, you know, assassinating him. I don't see that happening. It would create so much chaos. Like, because you know what it is. Like, you highlighted something very, very important on one of your on the CramerSez Infinity on your live. Mm-hmm. They fucked up, and they're starting to realize that. Because the thing is that you're right. Had they let the election be clean and like not fuck around with it, and let Trump and let it, Trump would have won. All right, fine. But he would have had this 4 years, and like there was only so much shit he could stir in the pot, and that's it. He wouldn't be eligible to run again. Now they made themselves too hot boy, and I mean, you sound like you grew up in the hood, so you know exactly what I'm saying. They expose themselves. Now it gets worse because now everyone exposed the hand that they're playing. So now in 2024, now we know who we need to get rid of. Ray, Mayorkas, Pelosi, Romney's gone, Kevin's gone, and you're going to be seeing a lot of. I have a feeling you're going to be seeing a lot of these senators and congressmen. They're just going to retire because they already see what's happening in 2024. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of these people leaving the fucking country because they don't want to go to prison. You know,
I agree
that's
with you.
my honest opinion.
And here's the thing: is that when you say that, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy if you'd said it in 2019, but saying it today goes, well, it makes sense, right? I mean, I get it.
It's not even that. Just you start reading the reports, man. Just get off of fucking CNN, Fox News, and just start looking at articles, reports, finance reports, and you see where the money is coming from. It's like, holy shit. Like, it's just like, like, they're leaving. They committed treason, bro. Are you kidding me? And if you go back to the constitutional times, there's only one method of treating that, and we both know what it is.
Yep. Well,
bring back the yard on.
let's be very clear as to what that is, right? People are hesitant of talking about our history, but the founding fathers were very clear. If you commit treason against this country, you die. No ands if or buts.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Right.
Yeah. And me personally, as the person I am, I would go one step further and eliminate the bloodlines, because you know what it is. You know why Pelosi and Romney, where they wanted to run. These people are trying to run and stay in office to protect their kids, because Paul Pelosi, the son, is just as
bad as Hunter.
Culpable. Exactly. You know, with
so
the
is Mitt Romney's.
Had in Ukraine.
Mitt Romney's kid is over there in Ukraine.
Mitt Romney, which is why I'm surprised that he retired, because when all this comes out, his kids are going to be in that same pot with the shit getting stirred. So right now, it's a survival game, and this is why they're running for the election. It's not that they want to or they can. Those guys are probably running on fucking crystal methamphetamine just to stay awake. But they have no choice because they don't want to see their kids go to prison.
Yep, I agree. We get Trump in the office. He's promising that on day one, his day of being a dictator, he's going to axe 30% of the employees in the federal government on day one. What do you think happens when that transpires?
When that happens, I can see the three-letter agencies retaliating or trying to retaliate, but I don't know how fruitful that'll be. I mean, you have to keep in mind that, like, there are a lot of, all right, you have like 2-3 million. I mean, you said it yourself with Chris, with Charles Bookwater, right? Mm-hmm. You have 6 ex-Green Berets running for politics. They see what's going on.
Yep.
You have 2 million other retired vets. I mean, you have guys that were ex-SEALs, ex-CIA, like Sean Ryan and Mike Ritland, that are out there exposing what's going on. You got other Green Berets like Mike Glover. You know, they're out there reporting. I mean, these are guys that were ex-CIA, ex-special operations, operators. They're exposing what's going on. So I mean, they're probably going to try to retaliate. I just don't think it's a good idea, because when you open up Pandora's box, and you have 2 to 3 million trained military personnel. I'm talking about guys that were in Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa. I mean, ready to come and kick in your door. It's not going to be easy to close that box, and that's what people are not realizing. Right. And the thing is that the far left isn't realizing that your numbers were artificially inflated, bro. Look at Bud Light; they were almost bankrupted. Look at Target.
Yep.
Look at look at the Red Hen, that diner that kicked out
Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Well, it went out of business.
Yep.
Yeah. It went out of business, like, bro. So obviously you don't have the numbers to even support your own brand.
I have
the numbers to put you out of business.
I got to jump in, because here's the thing that amazes me. I think, and this is just my personal theory, I think the reason that they're fighting so hard against Twitter opening up is that people are going to realize that we've been lied to for so long, and so many elections have been fixed and rigged across the nation over the years that we've just accepted that this is the way that it is. I talk to people on a daily basis, and I just don't see that we're a 50-50 nation. I don't see 50-50. When I go out and talk to people, it's 70-30. 70% of the people I talk to think that 30% are crazy, and 70% are willing to vote for Trump. Now, what's crazy about that is that in the RNC, the new polling, conservatives, Republicans are at about 70% support for Trump. 70%, 69% right now support for Trump in the polling. That makes more sense to me than this 50-50 bullshit, because people. Well, here's the thing. The majority of people don't have any problem defining what a woman is. They have the courage to say, that's a woman right there. That's one. That's a man. That's a woman. That is a tranny. By the
You know
way,
what?
that's they've called that now. That's a slur. You can't say that anymore. They're picking what you can say. Oh, you can't say anymore. That offends me. Okay, well, I'm tired of being called.
Go get a fucking towel, bro. Yeah.
Right, I'm tired. I'm being
bro.
being called a cracker and being told, I'm a MAGA extremist, and they give us all kinds of names. But as soon as you call them what we've called them for years, they termed it, not me. I didn't term tranny. They did. They picked
And
it.
you know something? Like what you're saying definitely holds weight. But like for me, it breaks down to like the brass tacks. Like you say, like it gets more sinister than that. People are financially feeling, and that's pretty much what's dictating all this. Fuck everything else. Fuck the language. Fuck. I'll call you a fucking Oscar the Groucho. I don't give a fuck. As long as my wallet and my bank account stays the same, I'll call you whatever you want, bro.
See, I don't go with that. No. You can't make me call you what you want, because then you change it, and then when I don't know you've changed it, you come back after me and cancel me because I didn't know. I didn't know that you changed. I'll give you an example. This is what I think is hilarious, the full circle that we've come. My dad was a minister, and we generally worked in the black community. That's where I was raised. So I'm very comfortable with the black community. I don't have any problem. I'm not racist, right? Everybody can be an asshole. Doesn't depend on your skin color, trust me. But here's what we found, is that back then, my dad asked, he goes, what can we, he says, I feel so, and the minister of the church says, just call us colored. If you want to talk about a group of us, we're just colored folk. That's what he told my dad, a black man. So for years, we used the term colored in our house. They're colored people. They didn't want to be called any other name. During that period, during the 70s into the 80s, that was it. So I get into college, and in college, I use the term colored folk. Colored people. Holy shit! They lost their fucking minds.
Made you stand out more.
Right? They lost their fucking minds. Are you uneducated? You're so uncouth. What did the mayor of Boston just hold a party for?
I'm talking about. No, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I agree 1,000%.
The electeds of color. So we're talking about colored people again. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
It is.
What they do is they find something that it's the drama. It's the mean girl on the playground that goes, I don't like him, so I'm going to pick him apart. I'm going to find a reason that I can pick him apart, and then I'm going to get everybody else pissed off at him, and just because of one thing. And I've seen it happen time and time again. Listen, folks, I'm not racist.
If she doesn't get recalled, I'd be so surprised.
Well,
especially out there in Boston, it's a very Irish, neighborhood. And not only that, but the thing is that like, how can you do that and be so blatant about that?
Because they're racist.
This country,
they're racist.
I know, but the thing is that this is like a melting pot of everyone.
No, we're not a melting pot anymore. We're not a melting pot.
Yeah,
Being a melting pot does not pay the race pimps. Race pimps can't get paid if we're a melting pot. If nobody is hyphenated, they don't get paid. That's what drives me crazy.
Al Sharptons, the Sean Kings.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, you're right.
And they cry racism, and give me your money and I'll go fight for you. Make me rich, I'll go fight for you. That sounds like the goddamn politicians we got.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. Whoever's the highest bidder always wins, and that's why we're in the situation we're in. But I wanted to touch on a point that you said. No, I get what you're saying. I'm not saying that it's right, but what I'm saying was going to dictate this whole revolutionary political, I don't want to say tsunami, but movement is just, people are financially feeling it, and that's what's dictating everyone's decisions. Because at the end of the day, it's all brass tacks. It's like people are maxing out credit cards just to get by. I mean, that's insane. Like you're borrowing money just to get by. So in other words, when the economy finally gets better, you're going to be paying that back. So when do you get to save? When do you get to retire? When do you get to enjoy your life? Never.
Well, the people are doing exactly now what the government has been doing. They've been forced to borrow no differently than the government has been borrowing, right? So now, because the government borrowed so much money and devalued our cash, they devalued it, we've got to go borrow money at 28% interest compounded daily to be able to live day to day. Is it sustainable? Does this go on? Or do we go to war before? Do you see revolution before the election? That's what I think is possible as well. I think that they'll kick something off so that it'll divert from it, and it'll be bad enough that they go, oh, we can't have the election, because that's what's happening in Ukraine right now. Zelensky is holding off the elections. Well, because they're at war.
yes, and I mean it's a I would see it happening maybe after, but I'm not really, because the thing is that I know you're not going to want to like hear this, but the Democrats, like, they're starting to wisen up. And the thing is that, let's say very hypothetically, revolution starts, right, and it's the right versus the left. I mean, you got to keep in mind, like, the right is more urban, more suburbanly like active. So in other words, like, you have a boat bag. I'm pretty sure you know how to purify water, right? Yep. If I left you out in the wilderness, you know what I mean? So it's like, these are the things that you and I think about, like, how to make fire, how to make shelter, how to trap our body heat. Like, do you think someone on the left would know how to purify water, how to skin or harvest an animal if they had to in the wild? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think it's going to get that bad. I don't think it goes there initially. I don't think that we explode into this kind of violence and suddenly we're living in the dark ages. I think it'll be like it is in Ukraine. I think it'll be like it is in Israel and Gaza right now. They're in an active war zone, and there's people going to work every day like nothing's going on. If you know the history of the U.S., when the Civil War was here, when we had the Civil War in the 1860s, life went on. People did their daily thing, and they're having a battle in my field right now. I can't make it to work, buddy. I got the rebels and the Yankees. They're fighting in that field over there. I can't make it. But everybody else went about their day. Same thing in Germany. Same thing in World War II. People went about their lives until the war came to their doorstep. So I think that's what's going to happen. What we've seen is, if you watch that movie trailer for Civil War, that's probably what it's closest to. I
replay it.
Yeah.
All the time. And the thing is that, let's say that is the case. It's just suburban warfare, right? Do you see, like, someone, like, guys who are worried about their pronouns, like, covering a left flank, watching someone six while you guys are moving? Like, do you see that happening? Like, bro, like, you guys are worrying about pronouns. They're not worrying about speed loading, speed drills, reloading mags, clearing a chamber. You see what I'm saying? Like, bro, like, this is what we do, like, on a daily basis. They're worrying about, like, I'm learning how to rebuild my M4.
Did you see the video that I made about that? That we should be able to get it wrapped up in about 10 minutes because they're on. They're out
10 minutes. Yep.
Okay,
I remember that. You're right, though. I didn't think about that. You're right. You did mention that.
What's your biggest concern for the next 6 months? What do you see as the biggest concern besides the economy? Because they're saying that Wall Street's going gangbusters. They're saying that the economy is just booming along. And first of all, do you believe that? And what do you think is the biggest concern? Right. What do you think is the biggest concern for the next year?
Honestly, just prepping. Like, that there's enough supplies to hoard to get us over. Like, that's really my main concern. Like, bro, like, buying ammo. Like, honestly, like, you want the truth? Like, buying as much as I can in cash and just stock as much as I can, because I want to be ready for it. I'm not gonna live on my knees, bro.
Did it Did it concern you the other day when there was the announcement that there's a worldwide gunpowder shortage?
Yeah, it did. That's the reason why, like, I'm saying that now. I said, like, hoard as much as possible. I mean, I shouldn't even said that shit, man. But straight now.
Nobody knows your address. Nobody knows your address. If you were
no, it's not that. I'm just saying, I don't want to give them the idea, because honestly, I'll blow checks. I'm just buying ammo. And that's it.
That's it. That's why I told my wife.
Yeah, don't come take my shit, bro.
No, something. We went out a few weeks ago, and I bought about $1,800 worth of 5.56. So I ain't fucking around.
I got 223. Yeah, man. So fucking yeah. I mean, I agree 1,000%.
Yep.
I agree 1,000%. And that's what my concern is. That there's going to be enough, at least enough for me. I mean, like, listen, you should keep your eye on the ball.
It's funny. It's funny in talking to my former neighbor is a Marine, working with Charles Bookwalter now, who's running for Congress. He's a Green Beret, and I asked him about that. I said, "Aren't you concerned about running out of ammo?" He goes, "If I got one round left, I can get more ammo." I get one round. I got one round. I can get some more ammo. So that thinking, I think people are starting to look at that. What concerns me more than anything else is the people's thought process, that they don't think this is possible. They don't see a day when our nation could be in civil war. So let me ask you this. I was at January 6th. I saw what January 6th was able to do to the psyche of those inside that building. It scared the shit out of them. That's why they're putting the boot on the neck of those that were at January 6th and went into the building. So the question that I ask now is that What's the likelihood that Trump gets elected, they allow it to happen, and then they allow another insurrection, and this time it's armed? This time on January 6th, it's not the peaceful protest that we had, where the only people that were killed were those killed by the state. What's the likelihood that we would see an armed insurrection by the left? What do you think? What's the likelihood of that?
I don't want to say armed, but definitely weaponed up. Because like I said, they won't be able. You got to keep in mind that a lot of them are criminals. They don't think that far. I mean, bro, guns are not cheap. You know what I mean? Especially maintaining them, ammo and shit. It's like you got to have a fucking real job to have this shit. You know what I mean?
Well, don't generalize. Don't generalize. Antifa is fully armed. They are armed to the teeth, and they're armed with the same exact weapons we are.
Well, no, yeah, you're right. You know what?
And so is the Black Panthers, right? And Black Panthers, I'm including groups. I'm not putting everybody in the same groups. I'm just talking about groups, right? But the Black Panthers, they're not a right-leaning group, right-leaning. I can't say it. Right-leaning group. Who else? You got Black Lives Matter, not a right-leaning group. They're just as well armed and just as well maintained as we are.
All right,
I don't think there's as many.
You brought up
Go ahead.
No, they're not. But look, you brought up a perfect example. The Black Panther. Remember when they were marching down like the South in Georgia? They were all armed, and they were marching down town to town to town. I remember they had to break that up because there was an accidental shooting where they shot each other.
Right.
You see where I'm going with this?
But the same thing happens. The same thing happens in the military. Trained men have accidents, right? They just not thinking at the right time, or they've got a noob among them that everybody else is well trained, everybody else is good. I'm not as likely to give an excuse that, hey, we're going to mop them up in one day, because they're just as well trained. There are leftists that served in the military just as hard, and they were just as good as the conservative right next door to them. And so I don't look at that. I look at how many of us are there, and I think that there's a lot more of us than there are of them. There is a lot more of us, and right. Bud Light and Target and all that shit proved it. Yep.
So there's going to be a lot more of us than there are of them. Yep. It's just that, like, me personally, like, I would really sit down and think this over if I were them, because this won't turn out well, And the thing is, like, I'm not really worried about our side. I'm just worried about, like, when everything shuts down, when it comes, like, to the doorstep, and, like, I got to protect my family. And, like, it's not something that I want to do. Like, I don't want to shoot some guy in the face fucking trying to break into my house and take my food, but
I've said the
if I have to do it, I'm going to do it.
I've said the exact same thing. This is not something that I want. I look at myself more as a prophet of what's going to come. I don't want it. I don't want it. But based on history and based on where we are, right. This is most likely to happen next. So let's say that we get a free and fair election, and whoever is elected. I was talking to Steve earlier, and he said that he doesn't believe. He says it's going to be 6 to 8 months if it's really tough, regardless of what happens. If they put Biden or they put Gavin Newsom in with the numbers that Trump currently has nationally,
people think if Newsom is there, he's still not going to win. Like what happened to California is known throughout the planet. No, they're not going to let Newsom. Not even if you have people in California who are not even going to vote for Newsom. People in LA. I mean, I don't know if you saw that interview with that guy whose store got robbed. And they ripped the gate off with their car, and the guy said, "You got to give me a reason to vote for you."
Right.
And he was talking about London Breed and Gavin Newsom. Like, I mean, even in California, they're not going to get voted in.
Right.
They're not winning, and that's the problem. They're in full panic mode. They already see the writings on the wall, and they fucked it up. And it's exactly what you said. They fucked up. Had they let 2020 go clean and uninterrupted and not expose themselves. Trump, but you know what? In a way, it's a good thing that this happened. Yep. The greatest thing that the whole 2012 showed us was how deep the rabbit hole went. Now we all know. Now we all see it, and now we're all tired of it. We're saying, fuck this, because we saw what 4 good years could bring us. Like I said, under Trump, like I stacked up enough to buy a house in fucking Long Island, New York, bro. The taxes are insane. And that was the whole point, because I'm paying private school for my kids. Why am I paying private school? I used to pay taxes and send my kids to public school. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And look, 1 year under the Biden presidency, my whole savings got wiped out. Like, what the fuck?
Yep. And you weren't living extravagant, right? You weren't taking trips all over the country. You weren't vacationing every 3 months. Just living day-to-day
No,
life.
bro, you're kidding me? Yeah, it's fucking penny pinching like holy, like you have no idea. So putting everything away just to get the house, because the thing is that the price, how it is, kids' tuitions are expensive. So instead of paying that, instead of paying rent and other bills and paying tuition, I could just use that tuition money to pay my taxes out east, and that would have been good.
Well, I just my in-laws just went to Hawaii, and they is it my in-laws? Is that right? I don't know if that's the right thing. It's my son's in-laws. It's not my in-laws. It's his in-laws. It's his wife's father and mother.
In-laws by proxy.
In-laws by proxy. We'll do that. So they just went to Hawaii, and he was telling me that while he was there, it was cheaper to eat in the restaurants than it was to go to the grocery store and buy food. And I said, well, how's that? He goes, the place that they were at, he goes, now the place we were at was kind of bougie, and the store that was down the street was kind of a bougie store. He says, but it was $12 a gallon for milk because there's no dairy processing on the islands. It's too expensive to have dairy cows on the islands. So it's $12 a gallon for milk. He goes, eggs are about the same price, but milk was really expensive.
Doesn't that remind you of something? Doesn't it remind you like something like maybe like a fuel situation that we're going through right now? Because we have to import it, we have to pay more instead of producing it here.
Yep.
Doesn't that sound familiar?
Same exact thing. So I don't think it gets any better anytime soon based on the same people being in Congress. And I'm going to wrap up with this. I got 5 minutes left here. Let's look at what happens in the next few years. Do you think that we're going to, even if we get power back, even if Republicans take power back, can we make change by keeping the exact same motherfuckers that are here now? The rhinos that are in now.
No, we don't, because of what happened from 2000 to 2020. Every time Trump tried to pass law, they kept blocking them and blocking them. Blocking. All these people have to be fucking gone. All the incumbents. It's like you said. In worst case scenario, vote for the guy who's not already there. That's it. I mean, if you're too lazy to do your research, for whoever's there now, don't vote for them. That's it. Let someone else come in and see what ideas they have. If they fuck up, vote them out too. It's like you said, there's no need for term limits, bro. The term limits are when you don't vote for them. That's it, bro. Like, that makes no fucking sense. That just shows you how fucking rigged everything is.
Let me ask you one last question here. If you were dictator for a day, and you could do what Trump says he wants to do, be dictator for a day, what's the one thing that you would do in that 24-hour period you have to be dictator for a day?
One thing that I would do that I could legally do?
Yeah, you're the president. You're going to be dictator. Well, it has to be legal. It can't be illegal. But what would you do? What was the one thing that you would do if you could be dictator for a day in the U.S.? What would you clear up? What would you take care of? What's the first thing that you would fix?
It was two things. I would like to get rid of all these politicians. Just start tabula rasa, brand new, fresh, everything clean, paper ballots, everything. I don't want to hear about a fucking computer anywhere.
Right.
Sign, show ID, fucking vote, and that's it. Oh, you couldn't make it? I'm sorry to hear that, bro.
It's funny.
I mean, listen.
It's funny.
Because you know what it is? And wait, hold on. And this is what fucking pisses me off, man. Like, people are like, oh, no, man, I had to go to work. I can't go vote. Bro, by you missing that one payday, if you add it up for the whole year, you just fuck yourself in the ass. But, all right, let's say you make $25 an hour, right? And, like, you work 8 hours, make $200 a day. For you not taking off $200 a day, well, you're paying in gas right now. Let's say that, like, all right, before, like, our CRV was like $27 to fill up, right? When Trump was in office, right? Yep. Now it costs us $50 to fill it up. So let's say we fill up every week, right? 25 times 4 is 100, right? In 2 months it's 200. In a whole year it's 1,200. You just cost yourself 6 times the amount of what you lost in that day because you don't want to take off to go fucking vote. Like, bro, like, are you serious? Like.
Yep. It amazes me. That is common sense. It amazes me that more people don't apply common sense, but that's the way it is. Thanks for calling in. We're going to wrap up. Got a couple minutes left here. It's interesting that over the last couple of years, we've learned a lot of lessons about who we are as people. And we've learned a lot of lessons about who our neighbors are as people and what we can and what we can't rely on when it comes to our neighbors. And that's what we really have to start building. Is a community that serves us. That's what I've tried to do over the last couple of years is start building that community. And after the New Year's, we're currently working behind the scenes on how do we start putting this together and start being a unified voice. Instead of a bunch of people out in the fucking field screaming at the windmills, how can we actually have them listen to us? Well, there's one way that you can have that happen. It's your time. Your feet on the pavement, knocking on doors. There's things that we're going to have you do. If you don't do those things, don't ever fucking complain to me again. We're giving you the opportunity. It doesn't cost you any money. It costs you time. What he was just saying, I can't go vote. It'll cost me. I'll lose time at work. Your vote counts. It means something. If you don't show up because you don't think it counts, the people who do show up get to dictate what your life is. They get to determine what you're going to be. And maybe if you'll start voting, and maybe if you'll start getting involved, and maybe if you'll start marching down the street and ranting and raving when the world goes wrong for you, maybe when you start doing that, maybe they'll start paying attention to you and your voice will matter. It doesn't matter if you don't apply it. You have to apply your voice. You cannot go in, folks. You can't sit on the sidelines, never practice, don't be a part of the game, and then be upset about how the game turned out. You have to be an active participant. You cannot sit on the sidelines and bitch and moan about it. You can't be an armchair quarterback and bitch and moan about it if you're not going to be a part of it. I keep saying the same exact thing. You come onto my content and you say, well, nothing ever will happen. Unfollow me. I don't need you. You're a waste of you're a piece of shit in my mind. You're a waste of human space. Because what you're saying is somebody else is responsible for my freedom. Somebody else is responsible for securing my rights. Someone else is responsible for fighting for me. I fight for me. I don't fight for you. I keep saying the same thing. I want you beside me fighting for your rights, but I'm not here fighting for your rights. I'm here fighting for mine, trying to build an army. With that said, my name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez podcast. We will be back soon, and maybe this will work, maybe it won't. We'll see if it doesn't. Let's go. It does! God damn it! Well, let's see if we can do it this way. Let's see. You know what? I'm just going to go. This is it. I'm just going to end this thing. Thanks for joining in tonight. Let me do this. This is funnier than shit. I'm going to go beat some engineers. I'm going to rip off their arms and beat them with them. If you haven't had the chance, let me wrap up this way. If you haven't had the chance, go to CramerSez.com. Get yourself an account. It's worth the effort. We're growing by leaps and bounds. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people on CramerSez.com right now talking about what's going on in their lives. It's a free speech platform. It's kind of like Facebook. Yes, it has its limitations. We don't have games and all that other bullshit. But if free speech is what really matters to you, that's where you go. If you like memes, if you like interacting with conservatives, or you want to argue with somebody that, well, they disagree with you, that's the place to do it, because we do not censor at all. CramerSez.com. CramerSez.com. And if you haven't gone to CramerSez.shop, that is our merch shop. Go there, buy a shirt, buy a hat, buy a cup, whatever we got there, and help out the detainees, the J6 detainees, 100% of the income that we make from that, 100%. I don't take a cut. There's no management fees. I don't do any processing fees. Everything goes, all the profit goes to the J6 detainees and their families. We want to write them a check before Christmas. We hope that you'll help us out at CramerSez.shop. With that being said, I am out of here. I will get this fixed, and we'll do better next time. I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Maybe.